Hello, my name is Bubble, and I sometimes go by the name Simon, and this is a thoughts video. So this is a thoughts video in two parts. We have KingDomino and QueenDomino, both of which are designed by Bruno Cathala. Both have been very successful games, and I thought I'd just give my opinion on what I actually thought of them. So I have played both. That's the first thing I should point out. So KingDomino came out in 2016, and it was relatively a simple game. You essentially are choosing each turn to get a domino. The dominoes are going to be different area types or terrain types or field types, as you would like to call it. So you have a wheat field, you have lakes, you have forests, you have mountains, I want to say, and then you also have desert, essentially. And you're basically supposed to join them up and make the biggest area possible. So if you gain a lot of wheat fields together, and you're going to be scoring a lot of points that way. QueenDomino does almost the exact same thing, except for it adds two new things. Kinda. The big one is buildings. On your turn, you can essentially just buy a building. The trouble is, in order to buy a building, you have to get access to one of the red pieces or red tiles. These are building tiles that you can then build a building on. Buildings are various different things. They can score you different points, and they can give you access to, say, towers, which allow you to get the princess, which make things cheaper. They also give you access to knights, which allow you to place on the board and generate you more money based on how big the area is. That's the game in a nutshell. You see, KingDomino was nice because it played fast. You could get a game done in 15 minutes. You generally knew the best way to score was to obviously build a 5x5 grid. And if you kind of messed up your planning, you kind of weren't going to be in the running to win the game. I did kind of get annoyed that there wasn't enough going on for it. Sometimes you feel like you did amazing, you did a 5x5 grid, and then someone's just like gotten all the lake tiles and somehow scored 50 points off them alone. But that wasn't a bad thing because the game played relatively fast. Again, you could get a game knocked out in 15 minutes, which was again really nice as a filler game. It also was a very cheap game. It had a beautiful production quality to it. All in all, a really nice package and a really nice filler. Probably best played with children. For me, I didn't. I want my fillers with a bit more meat. So the reason why I suggested, say, Medici last time was because it's a really nice filler game that had a lot of nice choices to be made. In KingDomino, your choices are kind of limited into what you can do. You essentially have a choice of 4 things, or if you happen to be going last, you have a choice of 1 thing, which isn't great. There's some strategic planning on where you should be placing your tiles, but again, that comes down to luck and also just on what kind of percentages you are to pull a certain tile. If you are going for water tiles, you might just not get any good ones, or you might just be blocked at any potential. Again, you are going to be competing with friends, so you kind of have to look out for what they are doing, but you don't have that much control. You're essentially just going to be trying to get the best tile as possible always. So, in a nutshell, KingDomino is a good filler. Not the best, but I think it's definitely one you can pick up for a good and cheap price. Now then, QueenDomino, I kind of have a thing. It's not a good thing. I don't like QueenDomino. You see, where KingDomino was a decent 7 out of 10 game as a filler, QueenDomino ends up being more like a 5 and possibly dropping down to a 4. The idea and thoughts behind having buildings and having different scoring objectives and different things you can do in the game is great. The big trouble is it just adds so much time to what is simply a nice little filler. Your scoring gets far more complicated as the game ends. You're going to be scoring different buildings, and then you're going to be scoring buildings that give you certain objectives. So objectives might be to have multiple water tiles again, but they have to not be connected to each other. So again, do you not go for the largest landmass? You want to go for different things. And then you can get the queen, which reduces costs, but that generally doesn't help unless people are actively trying to like race you for different prices. And then you have the knights, but you only really want to use the knights when you can build something, but then you also have the biggest area. It kind of takes a game that was an easy filler and just adds one too many layers, and the layers it adds aren't really good. It reminds me a lot of the Splendor expansion, which had about 4 modules added to the game, and out of the 4 modules, only 2 of them were relatively good, and one was mediocre, and the other one was just bad. And QueenDomino kind of has the same thing, except for what it adds just isn't really good enough. The buildings are an interesting choice, but if you're not going for the buildings, you're going to be losing. If you are going for the buildings, you're going to be losing because the competition is so fierce. What makes it even more worse is your turns just take so much longer. Instead of simply just putting down your person and claiming a tile, you now have to wait till someone does that. Then you have to wait until someone decides if they want to buy a building, and then you have to decide if they want to destroy a building. And of course, if they're looking over and they see that you have a lot of towers, say, on your board, they might just destroy the building that essentially gives you points for towers. It's just frustrating. You don't really have a lot of control of it. Or you could probably go first in one round, but that's not really helping you in the long run, because the tiles that generally are first tend to be the crappier ones out there. And that's the kind of thing that's kind of disappoints me about QueenDomino, is that it's working off a decent game, but it kind of shows you that more isn't necessarily better. It takes far too longer, it's going to be more costly, and you probably don't want to play it with kids anymore because the layers it adds might be a bit too complicated for them. Probably not, you know, kids are pretty smart these days, but again, it's just like, I would rather just play KingDomino 3 times and then I'd move on to something else. Or I can play QueenDomino at the same time and just not have a good experience. Now, there is a cool thing where you can combine the two sets together. You can, if you have KingDomino, you can get QueenDomino and combine the two together, kind of smoosh them together, make a grandiose game. But again, I raise caution to that. You see, spending $15 on KingDomino is a really good idea, but then you might want to get QueenDomino. Probably stay away from that and go for something like Richard Garfield's Bunny Kingdom. It offers different play, but essentially you're getting the same thematic game of building a kingdom. It's only a different take on it, but it focuses much more nicely. QueenDomino is just adding too many elements to just make the game a bit, well, uninteresting and unfun, and just takes a bit too long for what should be just a filler game. Anyway, those are my thoughts. I hope you have enjoyed this video. I hope they've given you some help in your purchasing options when it comes to board games. If you have enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like and subscribe. I will be, of course, putting out content every week. And of course, if you maybe have some thoughts on QueenDomino, maybe you thought it was the better of the two games, and of course, leave a comment down below. I always look forward to reading those. Anyway, that's going to be it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.